Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful December the 18th, 2019. Ground Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, enjoying this gorgeous Southern California weather. I've been out here at the beach working on my tan. I'm going to be ready for winter shortly when I go back home.
Well, if it's a California beach, be careful out there, Big C. Sometimes a lot of people walk over you when your skin looks like the color of the beach sometimes. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, as they always say. It's all fair and love and war. A lot of good things happening in the sports universe. Some college boys were high school now, but they're signing national letters of intent. And some of the top programs, they continue to reload and get the top players. Of course, NFL football, Tom Coughlin was told that we don't need your services anymore in Jacksonville, but I think he's about 70 years old. They were so close to the Super Bowl not too many moons ago up in New England, but that happens too. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as Big C Sports is powered by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You'll hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing, and I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. Also, you can follow us on Xfinity, Comcast Television, launching on Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Big C, I know we have this National Suicide Hotline. You brought it up to pay homage to our military veterans as well as civilians. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. I've seen ABC News, George Stephanopoulos, Michael Strahan, also bringing up that hotline. CNN, Don Lemon bringing up the hotline. And I just want to acknowledge you for doing it for, I think you started back in the summertime. Why is it so important to you, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's important for me, and it's important for every other news and media outlet to give out this National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. This is America. We have to do all that we can to help everybody who's an American, Charlton, and especially so many of those who have been afflicted by the horrific disease called suicide.
Yeah.
People don't want to recognize it as a disease, Charlton, but it is. When it afflicts so many people in this country, it has to be named as. We want to talk about the opioid crisis. We want to talk about cancer. We have to address suicide. And it has affected so many of our military veterans, Charlton, over the years. They come back from serving their tours of duty. They find that their time in the armed services is over. And they're set out in public, Charlton. They're set out without that support base that they've had for such a long time.
Yeah.
They're trying to adjust to everyday society, Charlton, and it's very tough. It's tough for people out here just to adjust on a daily basis. So the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, is there for all Americans to lean on, to listen to that voice, Charlton, that's going to be kind and understanding, not judgmental.
Yep.
Especially our military veterans, Charlton, just as well as everybody in layman everyday society. We have to find a way to stop the suicide numbers in America. It's afflicting so many young people as well as our military veterans. Call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number today. If you don't do it, give it to somebody you know that may need it.
800-273-8255, 800-273-8255, and 838-255 for texting. That's 838-255 to get some help. And a lot of networks are catching on. I know we've had the acknowledgement of iHeartRadio, Big C Sports, one of the top podcasts in the universe. May not have the best sound equipment, but, we're 3,000 miles away, Big C, so sometimes I hear people on national TV with $1 million equipment and the sound goes out. I think they had your friend, I think his name Kuiper McShay, they were doing a mock rundown of the draft, and he was just talking, but no words were coming out of his mouth for about 15 seconds, and then they cut it off. But it's all fair love and war. To be able to do something or dance with somebody in the middle of the night when you cannot see where they are and what they're doing. I really appreciate the fact that we've climbed so high, and that's a testament to the hard work that we put in. You know, today, just some things going on, Washington, D.C., this impeachment process. I know people have their own opinion, whether it's right or wrong, if you're the left side or you're the right side, Democrat, Republican. The law is the law. Nobody's above the law. And no one's looking for President Obama's birth certificate anymore. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, our country has always been divided since its inception. This is just another one of those ways. But if you're doing something illegal, you have to stand accountable for it. And, you know, the president is just like any citizen in America.
Yeah.
You know, you're not above the law. You might not be prosecuted, but you can be impeached.
Yeah, and it's just let the process be, and the facts will be the facts. And as I've always heard from a good insurance friend, the dirt will come out in the wash, and I just wish the best for our great country, but the truth will set you free. Big C, we've had this college football thing, and we're going to talk some NFL also, but I was just talking yesterday. I know you've been traveling, giving out some of the high school information, some of the top high school football programs in the country, and it seems like now, compared to when I was growing up, there used to be this show called by Bob Hope, comedian, and he would do the college football All-Americans right around the holidays, but they always focused on college players, whether it's USC or Notre Dame or Alabama or Texas. Bob Hope would always do a tribute to the college All-Americans. Well, because TV has come along and everybody has a network, there's so much homage being paid to high schools. Now we're focused on the National Signing Day for high school players, and we haven't even gotten to Christmas. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if it's focus or calling it for content. When you have networks that are void of things to talk about and, you know, everything every day is full of replays, you're just, you know, out there and you're shuffling for whatever you can put on this news. I don't know if you can call signing day of high school players, Charlton, impactful.
No.
Because these players have never dressed up for a college team.
No.
There are so many players that we've seen across the country over decades, even back when I was playing, that when they come in, they're top recruits that come into programs, and some of them never even put on a uniform and be productive.
Yeah, that's fact. But you know, also, everything is sold. And you told me about this thing called culling, where you get the farmers will take the best crop, and they'll send that to the market. The crop that's not the best, then they'll put that becomes fertilizer, or they throw it out for the hogs or whatever they do with it. But TV shows up. Geico is one of the largest insurance companies in America, and they are sponsoring high school bowl games. And I talked about that, and I was always on the opposite side of the fence of you. I was saying I think it's great when high schools travel all across the country, and you have the best teams from different states play outside of their state just for competition. And I think a lot of people like that, kind of like making an all-league team in your own city. But what made me have a pause, and I told you that IMG Academy out of Florida, which is where the 49ers practiced when they were getting ready to play the New Orleans Saints. That's how good their facility is, that an NFL team would go there and practice. But now we have Geico sponsoring the high school football games. That's never happened before. I think this is the first time ever that you take state champions after the season and you'd fly them across the country to play a game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what I would like to see is statistics on high school players who get injured after the 10th game of the season. That's what I would really like to see. I mean, you can sponsor any type of game, but you're putting the kids in peril to go out and make money.
Yeah.
So all of those kids who may have had a college scholarship, Charlton, who's gotten injured in that 14, 15, 16 game of the season, what's going to happen with their future? Did that insurance company insure them for the rest of their lives?
That's a very good point. And who does get the money? I know a lot of high school coaches, and believe it or not, and you probably know the same, they have to spend their own dime washing uniforms because they're not modern day. They're not IMG Academy or St. Thomas Aquinas or St. Louis of Honolulu. They're actually their own money to wash high school uniforms because they don't have the budget. And then there's some high school programs that are out selling, raffle tickets for whatever to raise money just to get uniforms. But that's like the culling.
Well, Charlton, we did a show a couple of days ago when we talked about the Walter Payton Man of the Year award and the nominees from all the teams. And we had the player from the Washington Redskins who was nominated. He had partnered up with another company where he goes out and puts washers and dryers in high schools for kids to have clean clean clothes to wear, high schools and junior highs and middle schools.
Yeah.
So when you think about these lavish facilities that's being set up for high school teams, Charlton, to go out and play to make somebody money, think about the number of kids who go to school dirty every day, who don't have washing facilities at home, and the school is reaching out and washing their clothes, Charlton. This is not about, high school athletics. This is about life.
Yeah.
When I look at high school teams going across the country, playing in bowl games or playing other nationally ranked teams, I think of that of exploitation. I don't look at it as being fair and equitable across the board as far as what high school athletics are meant to be.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly. And ironically, and people can Google this too, and I'm sensitive to it because I've seen it so much, most of these top programs in the country, they're, for the most part, African-American starters. They may have a potpourri of people on the team, but most of the top players happen to be African-American or people of color, and they're being flown all over the place, and there's really no benefit from it. I saw this program on TV just the other day, and it talked about Heisman Trophy winners. Would you believe we know that Reggie Bush gave back his Heisman? I don't know why he did that. USC is not, they're no paragons of virtue, Big C. And then the same thing with O.J. Simpson. I mean, these both players played at USC, but the NCAA, we've always had the challenges of how they do fairness to athletes. But next thing we're going to start seeing your elementary, high school, and football, basketball teams if things don't stop. But I will say, Clay Helton, he stays on hand with USC, and he's yet to land an ESPN Top 300 commit, and that's based on those guys from the mothership. But that to me, just give me your feeling. I mean, I would say keep your job, but you're going to have to make do with the players that come to you, not who's ranked higher. That make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, when you look at it, and I've told you time and time again, Charles, players want to go where the facilities are.
Yeah.
When I was flying into Los Angeles and I looked down at the Coliseum as my plane was flying over, Charles, I see the Coliseum. The Coliseum is right in the middle of Compton.
Yeah.
That's where the Coliseum sits. It's not on top of, lavish facilities, Charlton, on top of a campus facility.
Yeah.
This is the things that the players look at when they go to college. You look at UCLA. The college is in Westwood. The stadium is out in Pasadena.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about bringing kids into a program, Charlton, you watch the top 4 teams in the country that were selected for the bowl playoff segment, Charlton, after winning their conference games.
Yeah.
If you go to either one of those universities, Charlton, they have lavish on-campus facilities. I believe the smallest one might be Clemson. I think Oklahoma seats 88,000. Clemson seats are like 85.
Yeah.
Ohio State at 105,000. When you look at LSU, 102,000. Clemson 3 years ago invested $58 million into their athletic facilities for the football players, Charlton.
Yeah.
LSU did $28 million on their locker room facility last year for their players. Oklahoma expanded their stadium 3 years ago and put millions and millions of dollars into their facility.
Yeah.
So when we look at where those programs are, and Ohio State's always been creme de la creme when it comes to college football.
Yeah.
This is what the players are looking for. Players are also looking for the multiple uniform options.
Yep.
USC plays in the same 2 uniforms, whether it's home or away. That's it.
Yep.
They don't have 5, 6, 7 different uniform options. The new kids now, Charlton, are not like the old players 20 and 30 years ago. Just give me a uniform, let me go play.
Right.
Now it's about how good do I look for my social media posts.
Yeah.
And so as long as those programs don't have the facilities or the multiple uniforms, don't ever expect for them to compete with the guys who do.
That's interesting. I know even Notre Dame, but they've always had the blue jersey and the green jersey.
Notre Dame has 5 different uniform settings now when you look at them. 5 different ones. They have the green, they have the blue, they have the white. They change their pants colors also.
Yeah.
They'll put on the Yankee pinstripes. They have 5 different uniform colors that they go with.
Yeah, and they even have some designs they'll put on their helmet too, which is that's a very good point. I think USC has only had the stripes on the shoulder and then kind of the arrow across the side of the shoulders kind of looks like a stripe on top of the shoulder. UCLA's changed a little bit too. It's all part of it. I mean, everybody has to grow with the times. I think the number 1 ranked class was Clemson. Obviously, as you mentioned, they're in the Final Four. They had 16 of the top 300 recruits. Alabama was number 2. They had 19 of the top 300 recruits. Ohio State, They're number 3. They have 17 of the top 100, the top 300 recruits. LSU, number 4. They're in the bowl championship series, 14 of the top recruits. And then Auburn, number 5, at 12 of the top 300 recruits. USC, my favorite program, they rank in the bottom third in the Pac-12, even with all the glory and all the history. And I think some of the reasons why is what you just mentioned.
Understand, most of these kids that are being recruited now, Charlton, don't remember the heyday of USC. They don't remember when Pete Carroll was there.
Yeah.
All they remember is the last 5 years of college football. You think about when they were playing Pop Warner, and from Pop Warner to high school. Who's been on the top of the heap during that whole time?
Yeah.
That's what kids are interested in. They're not going to sit there and go back and say, well, USC won a national championship 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to go there and see if I can restart that program again. They want to go to the place who has the jewelry that's hanging around their neck and on their fingers right now.
Yeah, that's amazing how that happens, Big C. So with all that, everybody's going to keep doing what makes them the money. If you get a major insurance company that will sponsor you if you're a good football team, and I don't know how much money it costs to put 80 high school kids on a plane, but I know that some schools in California that flew to Hawaii, and they had to raise $80,000 to send about 65 kids and some staff. That's a lot of money just for one school. $80,000 would last them almost a whole season in buying supplies. That make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
It will last most high school programs, Charlton, for an entire year. But this is what it's come down to, the exploitation. You're going out there, you're doing fundraisers, you're getting donations, whatever, to fly these kids across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're only talking about a day experience, going to play a game somewhere. It's just a game.
Yeah.
To go to Hawaii to play a high school game, Charlton, it's still just a game. You could have stayed in the local community, used some of that money towards the education system within the school, and still benefited everybody.
Yeah, that's true too, Big C. Before we get into some NFL football, there's a couple of players from Oklahoma, and I don't know why this happens. You know, some players, I think they got 3 players suspended right before one of the biggest games of the season, before they go to the Bowl Championship Series and play LSU, and now they're testing players for whatever reason. I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm just not. But why can't – it's not like players just did it now. Maybe it's something they've already been doing. I don't want to mention their name because they're still minors. But how can we even teach the people or talk to people about stop doing foolishness when oftentimes if you don't do this stuff, you can't be bigger and stronger like your competition? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, all players are aware that when you're in the playoffs and when you're in bowl games, you're under the testing system of the NCAA.
Yeah.
And so if you go out and do these foolish things, it's nothing new. All players know from Pop Warner, high school, and college, even pro football.
Yeah.
You know, Gordon just got suspended indefinitely again by the NFL. Wide receiver with the Seattle Seahawks. He's been suspended when he was with the Patriots. He has a substance abuse problem, Charlton. And so if you go out and you think that you're bigger than the system, I have no empathy for players, Charlton, who figure they can go out and cheat and skirt the system and do whatever they want to do, whether it's recreational or trying to enhance their bodies. It's wrong. You know it's wrong. It's not. You talk about the intelligence of these young men.
Yeah.
They're not dumb. They know what they're doing firsthand.
Let me ask you this question, though, because a lot of people won't say what I'm going to ask you, and I've seen it before. I've had guys tell me. I mean, I've seen guys 2 months later put on 40 pounds solid muscle. I said, man, what have you been doing? And they say, I'm on the juice. I said, why are you doing that? He says, because I couldn't compete if I didn't do it. So they'd rather, and I had a professional baseball player that many people would know if I said his name, had gotten suspended. This was many moons ago, about 2 decades ago, and he was on juice, but he was making about $20 million by being on the juice. Without being on the juice, he said he couldn't perform. So some guys weigh the averages of doing whatever, and I don't know what these guys were caught on, but they feel like it's worth it. And you know, Big C, a lot of the players, look at the Mike Webster story, they know in order to compete with those guys that are 6'4", 6'5", 290 pounds, run a 4.7 40, bench press 450 pounds, they're not doing that because they do a lot of push-ups, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, back in the era when I played, juice was very prevalent. I mean, we knew the guys that were on it. Everybody wasn't being tested for it.
Yeah.
The landscape has changed in football since then, but it's still very prevalent. People learn how to skate the system.
To mask it, yeah.
Is what they do. You know, you learn how to mask things. You know, the chemical substances have gotten so good now that players use for growth.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I mean, everybody takes the chance to try to compete.
Yeah.
And, you know, you do what you got to do to make yourself better. I've had teammates use it, seen them use it, knew they were using it. Everybody on the team knew they were using it.
Yeah.
But it's the sign of the times, Charlton. Anything you can do to get an advantage in life, not just in athletics, in life. In the stock market, people cheat.
Yeah.
You know, they cheat in trading. So, I mean, life is about cheating, trying to get ahead. Everybody is not born with a silver spoon in their mouth.
Look at the
So
impeachment.
even in athletics,
you
try to get that little competitive edge.
Or asking your, someone, an enemy of the country to spy on your rival. That's what's happening. And I want to just make this point because people say sports and politics don't mix. This whole impeachment thing going on now with POTUS, it's all about cheating. It's all about lying. It's all about being corrupt. But an athlete will lose his job or they'll suspend him, and then politicians will say, well, no, he didn't do what you heard him doing. He didn't say, what you heard him saying. But we don't do that for athletes. I want to go back to Gordon because we put a lot of emphasis on high school players now, and then college players, and then NFL players. So Major League Baseball, as of 2020, they put out a list of substances that are illegal now in 2019 that will not be illegal in 2020. A lot to do with CBD and the cannabis industry, etc. If Gordon has an issue, what do we say to the people that know he had the issue when they hired him? Now you're going to fire him because he tested positive for what he's already dealing with? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, is the guidelines of the league. I mean, do you want the inmates running the asylum? When you sign a professional contract, you understand the guidelines. You have representation called an agent who lets you know what's in the small print of the contract that you sign.
Yeah.
Gordon's situation, Charlton, this is a man that's been suspended a half dozen times. He knows what he's doing. Illness. We talk about suicide prevention, which is an illness in this country, Charlton. What he has is an illness. And so this is how you have to look at things. If they don't represent what he has as an illness, then they don't look out for him. But they test him, and he knows he's going to be tested, Charlton. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
If you know you're going to be tested and you still feel you have to do it, then you put your livelihood as well as your life in peril.
Yeah, I think that's the thing called addiction, and we don't want to hear the bad things that happen when people don't get help. If you're big, stronger, and fast, you call it culling. They'll take you and they'll use you as much as they can to help them win a game. I think that's just turned the tide with the 49ers most likely going to become the top team out of the NFC West, just my opinion. I want to come up on what's called the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. We'll take the timeout and the pause. We'll come back, and we're going to talk about some NFL football. I want to get Big C's thoughts on Big C's NFL top 10. We'll take the timeout and be right back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause, and you can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Speaker.com. The apps that I really love are by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can also follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast Television, launching on Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. As I get into Big C's top 10, I want to ask you one more question, because you put out this hotline number, and people think, it's about guys who are men or women, military veterans who are going through some emotional issues, and people just need some help. So what about athletes, Big C? Sometimes people think NFL players are too big and strong, they don't need help. We know they need help. We don't want tragedies happening. What advice would you give to other players to get help, even though a team might say, don't get the help, come get the $10 million instead? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, help is offered in all professional leagues. There's counseling. When you're drafted, they have rookie symposiums, Charlton, for all the rookies that come in, drafted and free agents. They talk to you about the do's and don'ts and where you have outreach at to go get support, Charlton. Gordon has opportunities. You think about it, the New England Patriots put him in rehab. They paid his salary while he was in rehab. He got a Super Bowl ring while he was in rehab.
Wow.
They brought him back, Charlton, but he was slipping, and they knew that. But every team in NFL have given Gordon opportunities, Josh Gordon, because of his talent. His talent keeps him with opportunities for employment.
Yeah.
But as an individual, Charlton, you can't watch everybody. It's just like everybody walking up and down the street. There's, close to 2,000 players involved in the NFL, practice and active roster.
Yeah.
So how do you keep an eye on everybody? It's like any team, college, high school, professional. When you're a grown man, you have to take some responsibility for your own actions. And if you continuously want to abuse substance, Charlton, that is illegal, and the NFL and all professional teams give you a list of what's on the banned substance list. It's not like you're walking out there blind. And in Josh Gordon's case, Charlton, he knows he's going to be randomly drug tested even more than the other players.
Yeah.
So if you feel that you just have to go off the wagon, eventually opportunities will stop.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, he's been around the NFL for a decade, and he hasn't played half of that on the field. But he's had opportunities. So if he doesn't care about himself, you can't tell the NFL to care about each and every individual who is not putting the same emphasis towards their own life and well-being, Charlton.
Yeah, it's like tough love, but you rather have that tough love than a tragedy happen that has happened with some other players that just, for whatever reason, people have an imbalance, and we don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I just want to see people get help. I want to get into Big C's NFL Top 10 Power Rankings, and I'm going to start off with the Houston Texans winning on the road against the Tennessee Titans. That was an impressive win. It was a nice bounce back from what happened against the Broncos. But Big C, if you're watching a team like Houston, the Jekyll and Hyde, how much faith can you put in them that even if they win their division, that they'll go any further than one game? Big C, your thoughts?
Houston has been a confusing team for the past couple of years, Charlton. Just when you think they've put it all together, they fall apart just that quick. And I put it on the head coach, O'Brien. I think he has to go. I don't think he's a match for the offensive skill set players that they have. They have three of the best wide receivers in football. When you talk about Fuller, Hopkins being the leading two, Charlton, Deshaun Watson is as good and capable as any young quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. But
for some reason, this head coach can't get them over the hump and can't keep them consistent.
Yeah, and I would you Matt? When Wyatt got hurt, J.J. Watt got injured, had the torn muscle in his chest. There's something about leadership, and sometimes and people may say it's overrated, but is there such a thing as leadership that when the leader of that team, he was been Defensive Player of the Year, I think twice or three times, when he's not there, some of that leadership is gone, and maybe that's why they're up and down. Your thoughts?
No, Charlton, in the NFL, guys are playing for paychecks. Paychecks is called leadership in the NFL. If you're not man enough to protect your income over time, that's why when people say the Dolphins were tanking for Tua, I'm like, hell no, those guys out there playing to get a paycheck for next year. They're not worried about some potential rookie coming in a year from now. They're worried about keeping that income going this year and next year.
Yeah, I've always thought that was the case. So with that said, would you consider, so Watson, they may make him a team captain, but guys are obviously motivated by their paycheck, not by someone putting a C on someone's uniform. Very well said. I want to also swing Big C's top 10 NFL power rankings. A team that I really like their defense offensively. I don't know if they can win the big game, especially on the road. That's the Minnesota Vikings. It was an impressive road victory they had against the Chargers, but a lot of people have beaten the Chargers this year. Phillip Rivers really been a liability as a quarterback this year. But they did it in dominant fashion. But then the Chargers, they're helping people also because Rivers gives the ball away too many times. Big C, your thoughts on the Minnesota Vikings?
Well, Phillip Rivers has struggled all year long, and the Chargers, I mean, you think about the job that Anthony Lynn did last year, 12-4 record, and this team is just a shell of that record that they had last year, Charlton. Phillip Rivers has been inconsistent. The running game has not been there. I think the team was in disarray when Gordon didn't show up, Charlton, and he wasn't even team captain, but that synchronism that they had wasn't there. They lost a lot on defense. Ingram was hurt, and so the defense didn't have the pass rusher. They lost James, their top cornerback. So a lot of injuries that people don't recognize that the Chargers have gone through helped with their demise this year.
When you think about a guy like Phillip Rivers, and no one is too big to be traded or cut from a team. I know that when you have that type of legacy, just like an Eli Manning, they don't want to cut guys like Eli Manning. They don't want to cut guys like Phillip Rivers. But when they become a liability for your team, you at least got to find somebody else. And I would think, I don't think Derek Carr is going to make it to the Raiders camp down in Las Vegas. I don't think Gruden wants him. I don't think Mayock wants him there either. And he's a California kid, and he grew up in Texas but also lived in Bakersfield. I would think that he would be a nice fit for the Chargers. I know they talk about looking at the draft, but why not look at a player that's at least won a play, gotten his team in the Raiders to the playoff teams at one time? Your thoughts?
Yeah, but he's never won a playoff game. And so when you look at Carr and the potential of going to the Chargers, I don't see it as a fit with that organization. I look at the big receivers that they have in San Diego. They need somebody who can get the ball downfield. Carr has not consistently proven since he's been in the NFL that he can get the ball consistently downfield. And I think what that offense needs with the type of players they have, especially Eckler in the backfield, they need a quarterback with some mobility.
Yeah.
I don't know if Derek Carr would be an upgrade from Tyrod Taylor, who's the backup quarterback in San Diego right now.
Yeah. Yep. Well, they'll have to figure that out. I know Phillip Rivers, it'd be nice for him if he got into the new stadium, but I just don't think that's going to happen. Keep the coach. It's not the coach's responsibility to not throw interceptions. I hope that they don't put a lot of pressure on him. He should be able to get into the new stadium down in Inglewood, Big C. Number 8, Big C's NFL top 10, and this is a team that not a lot of people gave a lot of hope for the last year or two, but the Buffalo Bills, they're in the playoffs now, which many people did not see coming. And I know they'll make it about their quarterback and Allen, who's played pretty good football this year, but their defense, they really are good enough to win the AFC East. Don't think it's going to happen, but your thoughts on Buffalo being Big C's number 8 spot, your thoughts?
Well, you got to take your hats off to Sean McDermott to what he's done as a head coach in Buffalo. This young man played safety at William & Mary, so he's always been defensive-minded since he was in college, Dalton. So what he's done with the defense, I think they're the 7th-ranked defense in the NFL. He's been under the radar. Offense has done an admirable job this year. When you look at the development of the young wide receivers, especially Josh Brown.
Yep.
Devin Singletary has been an outstanding rookie running back. Josh Allen has proven that you have to be a complete athlete at quarterback. People don't talk about his mobility enough at quarterback. He's better running the ball than he is throwing the football. But it keeps all defenses off balance because just like when you look at Baltimore and you look at what Jackson has done, Allen has done that on a smaller scale in Buffalo. And like I said, the defense has been outstanding, and you got to take your hat off to Sean McDermott, the head coach.
Willie's doing a great job. Number 7, Big C's top 10 NFL, San Francisco 49ers. What happened against the Falcons? This once dominant defense hasn't been as dominant the past few games, so they lose to the Falcons at home. Prior to that, they had the miraculous comeback win with a field goal that won the game down in New Orleans. And then prior to that, they had lost on the road at Baltimore in the pouring rain. And prior to that, they had beaten up on Green Bay. But prior to that, they had lost at home a field goal again to the Seattle Seahawks. So they have not been that dominant 49er team that they were just about 4 weeks ago, Big C. I still think they're in position to win the NFC West based on what's happened with Seattle, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is a team that's slumping right now, Charlton, if you realistically look at it. They went into the weekend the number 1 seed in the NFC, came out of the weekend the number 5 seed in the NFC. So they're on the outside looking in right now. They were in the penthouse, and now they've gone to the outhouse. But this is the situation with the 49ers. They had 5 defensive players, starters, that didn't play last week that are out. And so this is a team that cannot win just on depth alone. You look at the game that they played against the New Orleans Saints a couple of weeks ago. They won that shootout, Charlton. But there were 3 big plays that determined it, especially Kittle's play at the end of the game. But they also had a push-off from a receiver in the middle of the field, Charlton, that wasn't called an offensive interference. You also saw when Sanders threw the touchdown on the reverse play, a little trickeration to get them to the point of winning the game. So this team hasn't been totally dominant as people want to think. And so people question whether Jimmy Garoppolo can get it done consistently. He hasn't got it done consistently, and so it's really a lot of pressure going to be put on him in the playoffs because the running game has been stifled the past couple of games.
Garoppolo's coming back down to earth. I know they'll say it's the defense, but they were pumping him when they were winning. They would say Jimmy G is like 17-3. Well, Jimmy G has lost about 3 games in the last 5 games, so they don't call that Jimmy G's loss. They call it the Niners' loss. But we'll see what happens as a team. They got 2 more weeks to figure it out, Big C. Number 6, Big C's top 10. The Green Bay Packers haven't looked great for much of this season, but don't you think is coming? Is coming for that team. They have to keep running so they don't lose out to Minnesota, chasing them down for the playoff spot. But what are your thoughts on the Green Bay Packers, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, the Green Bay Packers, everyone says Aaron Rodgers. I say Aaron Jones. When Aaron Jones is on, Charlton, the Green Bay Packers are one of the best teams in the NFL. They haven't consistently found a way to keep him the number one option in the offense. Aaron Rodgers still wants to be the guy. The defense has been up and down. They did not dominate the Washington Redskins over the weekends. I know the Skins are getting better. You look at their running game as well as Dwayne Haskins. But here's a team that is double-digit victories, and you're playing a team with just a couple wins. You should go out there and dominate that team, and they did not do that. So you have to be skeptical of them as the playoff run starts.
Very good point, Big C. I want to go to Big C's number 5 in the Big C's NFL top 10 rankings, Kansas City Chiefs. Now, they're getting better by the week on defense. Remember earlier in the year, their defense couldn't stop, what do you call a paper towel, something like that, or paper napkin? They couldn't stop anybody. They're playing better defense. Patrick Mahomes, that ankle's getting a little bit better. And Kansas City looks like they're a team that could represent at least to the AFC Championship game. Your thoughts?
Well, as I look at the Chiefs, Charlton, that offense is starting to get in sync. If you look at them at the beginning of the season, all of their key offensive weapons were hurt. Kareem Hunt missed the first 4 or 5 games of the season. The running game was in disarray. They picked up Shady McCoy late, and so he had to get in tune with the offense. The offensive line has never been intact all year long. But what surprises me now is that the Kansas City Chiefs are actually playing defense. And if you can play defense with that lightning-quick offense that they have, and I know everybody raves about Baltimore, but Kansas City beat Baltimore earlier in the year. When it comes to a shootout in inclement weather, Charlton, I like what Mr. Mahomes can do in Kansas City.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful game to see again. I want to go to Big C's top 10 NFL football programs. The Seattle Seahawks coming in at number 4, but maybe not with what just happened with Gordon being out of there, Big C. The Seattle Seahawks, they're now the top seed in the NFC for now, which makes them a trip to any NFC playoff team. It has to go through Seattle, which is very difficult to win there, especially late in the year. Give me Big C's thoughts on the Seattle Seahawks, and if the news about Gordon changes your thoughts on being number 4, Big C.
Doesn't change my thoughts at all when I look at what Seattle is doing. Chris Carson has been a dominant force on the ground for the Seattle Seahawks, Charles, and a 1,000-yard rusher. We know what Russell Wilson do. When you think about Josh Gordon, he was not the number 1 receiver in Seattle. You think about Tyler Lockett, the development of DJ Metcalf. The defense has been outstanding. What I worry about more in Seattle than anything is the defense not being able to generate a pass rush. Jadeveon Clowney has a core injury in Seattle, but the rest of that defense, led by its linebackers and Bobby Wagner, has been outstanding. The secondary is much better than people give him credit for, and the magician, Russell Wilson,
he's amazing.
Never count him out. There's always a trick under his hat.
You tell me, I told you they're like Legion of Boom Part 2. You said, no, they're Legion of Boom Part 1 because they're actually playing better defense than the Legion of Boom back in the day. I just think they're a good team. We'll see what happens with Pete Carroll. He's also the Houdini himself as a coach, the oldest tenured coach in the NFL. The New England Patriots, Big C's top 10. Brady he's not going to be selected for the Pro Bowl, and he's not having the best season, but the Patriots still a dominant team. He still has 6 championships, Big C, at least the Patriots do, but he was playing quarterback for those championships. The defense they've been great all season, and they had a big day against the Bengals to get them back on track, but everybody goes to Cincinnati to get back on track. So 2 things, are they still Big C's top 3 team? And it's much ado about nothing if Brady's not selected to a Pro Bowl. He probably doesn't want to play it anyway, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, we got 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, don't we?
Yep.
32 starting quarterbacks, 6 are selected to the Pro Bowl. Six out of 32.
Yeah.
You think Tom Brady's worried about it? He's been selected to the Pro Bowl 14 times.
Yeah.
Which is tied for the all-time record in the NFL.
Yeah.
But he also has the all-time record for our Super Bowl appearances in 9.
Yeah.
He also has the all-time record with Super Bowl wins in 6.
Yeah.
So the Pro Bowl is the last thing that Tom Brady is worried about. He's trying to get to Super Bowl number 10.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots, as much as people want to say they're down, they're not what they used to be, The last I checked, what they have, 11 wins this year, Charlton?
Yeah, they're still good.
11 wins.
Yeah.
You know what their record was last year, Charlton?
What's that?
12-4.
Yeah.
12-4. They have one less victory right now with 2 games remaining than what they had last year.
Yeah.
Tom Brady doesn't have any all-pro players on his offense. Think about that. You don't have any all-pro players on the New England Patriots offense,
wow.
but yet you're 11-3?
Yeah.
So tell me that they're struggling after the season is over.
And he has more rings than anybody who has made the Pro Bowl as a quarterback this year, so I'm sure those other guys would rather have the rings too. Number 2, Big C's, NFL top 10s, the New Orleans Saints. They bounced back with an impressive victory against the Indianapolis Colts. They forgot the game that they were playing in the football game. They decided not to even show up. Big C, your thoughts on the Saints?
Well, I think the Saints were still a little heated from, the way they got a little ripped off from the 49ers and took it out on the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
That defense was a terror all night long against Jacoby Brissett and that Colts offense. But Drew Brees right now is hot. When you think about where he was this time last year, Charlton, compared to this year, those 5 games that he took off with the broken thumb, Charlton, really helped the New Orleans Saints offense because now he is strong.
Yeah.
You look at him coming out throwing 5 touchdown passes in a game versus the 49ers. The following game, Charlton, against the Indianapolis Colts, he sets the NFL all-time record, Charlton, for throwing touchdowns in a career.
Yeah.
And still is going with 2 games left to go in this season. So as I look at the Saints, and they have a healthy Drew Brees with a strong arm right now, where his arm looked a little tired in the playoffs last year.
Yep.
You don't want the Saints in any round throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Drew Brees a little bit more after we finish up Big C's NFL top 10 power rankings. The Baltimore Ravens, they have their eyes on the top seed in the playoffs in the AFC. The defense is improving, and it should get them there. I know there's so much talk about how good Jackson is, but people got to keep in mind, their defense keeps them on the field a lot, too. There's not a lot of teams mounting 80-yard drives and 15 plays against that defense. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about the Baltimore Ravens, they're going to end up the season with 2 people, Charlton, rushing for over 1,000 yards, quarterback Lamar Jackson and running back Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
This is something that has not been done that frequently in the NFL. Everybody talks about the exploits of Jackson and how electrifying he is. But not many people are giving accolades to the defense in Baltimore. I think this Baltimore defense is as good as the defense they had the last time they went to the Super Bowl. They don't have the big names that they once had, Charlton, but they have a core group of players who go out and get the job done. They are nasty, and that's the thing I like about the defense. They play nasty style of football. They go out there and hit you in the mouth.
Yep.
And they got these tight ends that are very physical. And that's what really helps their offense, that you don't know what these tight ends are going to do. Were they going to block you and put you on your butt, or were they going to creep past you and Charlton get back into the seam, and Lamar Jackson hits them with a little big pass? But the Baltimore Ravens, to me right now, Charlton, are the best team playing in the NFL.
Yeah, they're solid, and I know if we look at the development of Jackson and then Garoppolo and coming into the season and even how they got into the NFL, and one guy is just progressing. They climbing that ladder, and when they've had a setback, they've still won their games. It's amazing. People were saying these 2 teams will meet in the Super Bowl again. I don't know if that will happen. We'll just see. But I want to say Big C's top 10 NFL power rankings. Everybody has their own opinion, but Big C gave you his. I want to just touch some more on the NFL. Last season we saw Drew Brees. He hit a slump in December, Big C. I think people can say that's fair. He was approaching his 40th birthday. But now that good old boy's turned 40, he's getting better. As the season wears on, Monday night is going to be remembered for Brees setting the all-time passing touchdown record. Think about it. Peyton Manning, 540th touchdown pass. And the amazing thing about how the universe does things right, it happened at home, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it happened at home in front of that very gracious crowd there at the Superdome, Charlton. Drew Brees has given so many wonderful memories to the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana. It was only fitting that he breaks Peyton Manning record at home in front of that gracious crowd.
Yeah, in front of that crowd was amazing. So in terms of completion percentage, Brees had the greatest game in NFL history. Think about this. The guy's over 40. Maybe he knows Frank Thomas, Big C. He's always pushing something to Frank Thomas. It's funny. But in terms of completion percentage, Brees had the greatest game in NFL history. Completed 22 straight passes to end the game. Finished 29 of 30, breaking his old Chargers teammate Philip Rivers' single-game completion record. Rivers was finished 28 of 29 against the Cardinals last season. But not only did Brees do this, he really is the leader of that team. I know there's a statue of Ray Lewis outside of the stadium in Baltimore, and maybe there'll be a statue when Drew Brees decides to retire out there in Louisiana, the Superdome. Just give me your thoughts on this guy's 40, and he's doing his thing. He's 40, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, like I said, his arm was stronger now than what it was at this point last season, and that was helped by the thumb injury that he had.
Yeah.
He throws the ball so frequently, but he's so accurate when he throws the ball. I don't know if he needs a statue, Charlton, because he could end up being governor of Louisiana if he wanted to run for public office.
Yeah.
He's going to get elected hands down.
Yeah.
Drew Brees is just phenomenal. He's always been one of the leaders in the NFL, completion percentage-wise. But to go out there and set that dubious record, Charlton, one incompletion in the entire night, Charlton, after breaking the all-time touchdown record,
yeah,
what a way to finish it.
Yeah, a way to finish. And a good guy, too. Did a lot of stuff down there with Hurricane Katrina. Just a solid individual all around. Wish him nothing but the best. The NFL playoff picture, most teams have already booked their trip to the playoffs, Big C. Who's in the hunt leading into Week 16? I'm just going to throw out some names, some thoughts. Baltimore Ravens, they're 12-2. New England Patriots, 11-3. Kansas City Chiefs are 10-4. Buffalo Bills, 10-4. And they've all punched their tickets, but looking solid are the Houston Texans. I'm not so sure if they're solid, but they look good. They're 9-5. They created much-needed breathing room in the space at the top of the AFC South with their win over the Tennessee Titans. Give me your feeling, though. Do you trust them, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they just got to win one of their last two games, and they're solidified in winning the division. Like I said, the Coach O'Brien, he's to me, is the problem with the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
When I look at this team over the last 4 years, they've made the playoffs, Charlton, but the one consistent has been the head coach that has not been able to get them out of the first round.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with them. A coach that I really like is Tomlin. Tomlin's on the media hot seat for some reason. I just never really understood it. I think he's still the third winningest active coach behind Belichick and Andy Reid. But anyway, everybody can like who they want to like. But in the hunt, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Think about how this team has been so dominant over the years. It doesn't matter who they have. But if you look at what they are, 8-6, I think they've had 3 different quarterbacks this year, Big C. They currently own the number 6 seed, and they have the Jets and the Ravens to come. They need 2 wins, but one will do it. The Ravens, I believe, they were saying if they have everything locked up, they're going to rest their players in that final game against the Steelers, and I think that would also help Pittsburgh. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, Charlton, I mean, it'd be nice to see the Steelers get in. They've played 3 different quarterbacks, 4 different running backs, 2 different centers. That's a lot of personnel on the offense making changes at the critical position.
Yeah.
They don't have a go-to receiver in their lineup. Devin Hodges, undrafted rookie free agent quarterback, has been leading the helm of this team. But Mike Tomlin, hands down, has been the best coach in the NFL all year long.
Yeah, he really is, Big C. Much maligned, but very good. Tennessee Titans, 8-6. They've been red hot at times, especially before Sunday's narrow loss to Houston. Now with games against the New Orleans Saints, probably a loss, and at the Houston Texans. I don't know about that game. It's a tough break. Houston at home may win, but you never know, Big C. Give me your thoughts on how confident you feel with the Tennessee Titans.
Well, it all depends on how the Titans come out of that game against New Orleans, Charlton. I mean, do the Saints play all out? And if they do, it's going to be tough. Derrick Henry, leading the league or second in the league in rushing behind Nick Chubb, is a force for anybody. And when they look at what Tannehill has done, he's played outstanding since taking over the starting role and benching Mariota. So they're lightning in a bottle. I still don't count them out, but I like where Houston is, and they have to play the last game of the season.
Yeah, it's all, I love this time of year. College bowl games, NFL playoffs, can't beat it, Big C. NFC teams that have booked their ticket to the playoffs, Seattle Seahawks, they're 11-3. I know what happened with Gordon's suspension. Big C, you don't think that affects them still? Green Bay Packers, 11-3. New Orleans Saints, 11-3. And they think they're at least better than that based on some bad calls that have gone against them this year. And the 49ers are 11-3, and they really got to stop the leaking in San Francisco. Big C, give me your thoughts on those teams that have locked up the NFC, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, I mean, it's equal across the board. The 49ers are the one team that's slumping. When you look at that, everybody else seems to have momentum. The 49ers are worried about where they are. You got to wonder, is it going to affect the Niners mentally? When you go from first to fifth in one weekend, Charlton, how does that deal with you morale-wise? And they've had a copious amount of injuries on offense and defense late in the season.
Yeah, they really have. Minnesota Vikings are solid at 10-4. One win or one loss. The Los Angeles Rams away from booking their place in the playoffs, and that would be Kirk Cousins' celebration. He'll say, do you like that then, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he's delivering on what he said he would do to get the Vikings to the playoffs, Dalton. But the difference in the playoffs and the regular season is that all the teams have winning records.
Yeah.
And his career and history hasn't been too kind to him during that.
History hasn't been too kind, Big C. In the hunt, the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, both are 7-7. They're going to battle it out. And to be honest, the pretty pathetic NFC East division is just, like you say, the playoffs are a new season. It's not what you did last year or last month. It's a new season. And it seems like the Cowboys have the better talent, but will they get a win? Will they be aggressive enough to go into Philly and get a win? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's the difference in the Dallas Cowboys, Charlton. When this team plays subdued, they go out and lose. They have to be an aggressive team from snap one, Charlton. They have to take chances and try to make big plays. They did a lot of that in their last game. We saw a Dallas Cowboy team that woke up, somebody lit a fire on them.
Jerry Jones.
And can they keep that fire burning the last 2 games of the season?
Would you call that fire starter Jerry Jones? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the thing about the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones is the problem with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
If Jerry Jones would ever shut up for 2 weeks, the Dallas Cowboys would go on a 2-game winning streak.
That's so funny. I want to run through this real quick, Big C, the last 8 minutes of the program. When we list NFL quarterbacks with 5,000 yards passing in a season, that's amazing. Passing for 5,000 yards in a single season. Think about it. In the National Football League, 7 different quarterbacks have accomplished this feat. I'm going to mention it, and you give me your thoughts. Dan Marino was the first one to set the NFL record, 5,874 yards passing in 1984. Marino's record remains intact for over a decade after his retirement in 1999. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when Dan set that record, Charlton, no one ever thought that record would ever be eclipsed. It was a phenomenal number. 5,000 yards passing. I think it was 584 that Dan threw for in that year. But just, an electrifying offense. He had the Duper, the brothers Marks down there, Duper and Clayton at wide receiver.
Yep.
Dan Marino was just phenomenal. James Hardy at tight end. Just an electrifying offense.
Yeah, and now another guy that's retired also, Peyton Manning, the great Peyton Manning, holds the record. 5,477 yards, set that in 2013. Big C, your thoughts?
Yeah, and when Peyton set that record, that's when he and Tom Brady were just dueling each other for AFC supremacy.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison, was his main target there in Indianapolis. He had Ezra James in the backfield. That Colts offense was just phenomenal at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and you think about Drew Brees being exactly 1 yard short of this mark. You think about it, the only NFL quarterback to reach 5,000 yards more than once, having done so 5 times. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Drew Brees is throwing, and that's what we talked about, his arm being tired last year in the playoffs, and he just wasn't able to push the ball down the field. Now you have a healthy, rested Drew Brees who missed 5 games in the middle of the season, Dalton, and he's going to have that arm to go deep in the playoffs.
Makes a lot of guys want to go out and hurt their own fingers, Big C, so the doctor can make it stronger than it was before he went in. So that's just amazing. In 2011, there were 3 players, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Matt Stafford. They all threw for over 5,000, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about that. You talk about the arms race in the military. You had the arms race in the NFL.
Yeah.
Brees, Peyton Manning, not Peyton Manning, but Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
The difference is, Charlton, you got 2 of those quarterbacks that are perennial playoff quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford was throwing chase yards.
Yeah, he was throwing chase yards. When you fall behind, you got to chase somebody. And then Patrick Mahomes, Big Ben, and Roethlisberger are the most recent to do so, both accomplishing it in 2018. NFL quarterbacks have passed for 5,000 yards in a season 11 times. However, only 2 of these quarterbacks also threw for 50 touchdowns in the same season. Peyton Manning in 2013 and the great Patrick Mahomes in 2018. Big C, your thoughts?
And both of those, Charlton, were able to hoist the MVP trophy. They both were the NFL MVPs. They took the teams deep into the playoffs. What we saw with Mr. Mahomes last year, Charlton, something we've never seen, in an NFL quarterback. The acrobatic throws that he makes. He can throw any pass in the NFL. And if this kid can stay healthy, he's going to have a bright, bright future.
Yeah, I think he's going to be healthy. And like you mentioned, I just thought about it. Drew Brees had the thumb injury against the L.A. Rams, goes in for surgery, and then he comes out like the Bionic Man. They made him bigger, stronger, and faster, Big C. Maybe surgery helps a lot of people. Despite the rarity of a 5,000-yard season, only 3 quarterbacks were named MVP in the year of the 5,000-yard single season. Marino, Manning, and Mahomes. Matt Stafford is the only quarterback not to be selected to the Pro Bowl during that same 5,000-yard season. Also, Matt Stafford hasn't won a playoff game like those other guys have, Big C, too. Your thoughts?
No, he has. And like we said, Matthew Stafford has a lot of chase yards in his career. Everyone talks about his arm strength and has raved about it ever since he's been in the NFL out of the University of Georgia, Charlton. But it has not translated into victories for the Detroit Lions.
No, it really hasn't, Big C. And we wish everybody the best. But I want to get Big C's thoughts. Who will be, in your opinion, the next 5,000-yard quarterback in the NFL, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, right now, Charlton, I'm looking at the interception machine, Jameis Winston, down at Tampa Bay. If you look at Jameis Winston right now, he's some 300 yards away, 350 yards away from being the next 5,000-yard passer in the NFL. And at the pace that he's going, Charlton, he has not had less than 313 yards passing in any of his last 8 games. So Jameis Winston right now, based on his numbers, will get to that 5,000-yard plateau. It's just a matter of how many interceptions will he end up with.
That's funny. I think he might need, let's call that LASIK surgery, so he can figure out which color jersey he's really throwing to. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Speaker.com. You can follow Big C Sports on the 2 apps that I love called Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You'll hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing, and I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast Television, watching on Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. So I know everybody has their opinion. We talked about high school football players that are playing other state champions after the season. Normally you do that preseason to see who won last year's game, and you try to schedule that. But now they're doing it after the season. I don't know if I agree with that. College football playoffs, some players getting suspended because they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Big C just ran down Big C's top 10 NFL football teams. I want to close out tonight's NBA schedule on a Wednesday. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, Big C. We have Chicago at Washington, Charlotte at Cleveland, Miami at Philadelphia, Toronto's at Detroit, New Orleans will be at Minnesota, Memphis at Oklahoma City, Orlando at Denver, Boston will be at Dallas, and Golden State will be at Portland. Anthony Davis didn't play, had a little hitch in his giddy-up last night. The Lakers dropped one to Indiana, but they're still the Kings of L.A. Or you're down in L.A., do you see more Clippers or do you see more Lakers jerseys, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, the Lakers are the Kings of L.A. regardless, Charlton. When you talk about the Lakers, you talk about the Clippers, you talk about the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, you talk about the Los Angeles Kings, Los Angeles Dodgers, Anaheim Angels, Charlton.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Rams are the Los Angeles Chargers. The team in the city of Los Angeles, Charlton, are the Lakers. You think about the 16 NBA titles that they have hosted.
Yeah.
No other team has hosted that many. The Los Angeles Clippers have not played 14 playoff games, and the Lakers have 16 NBA titles.
Yeah, I think the Celtics have maybe one more, but it's all fair and love and war. But it's still, LA is still a great place. Don't spend too much time on the beach, Big C. Sometimes that ocean can fool you. It gets mighty cold. You can follow Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, and we hope that you enjoy it too. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, there were 4 players today that made NFL history. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson. The first time in NFL history, Charlton, that 4 NFL quarterbacks have been named to the Pro Bowl team in 1 year. I want to say congratulations out to those 4 great young men that are playing quarterback in the NFL.
And that is a great way to close out the day. We'll say congratulations too. And you can say congratulations every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.